thanks to for the flag and how about in country. I need to announce, having received notice from the Deputy District Attorney, Herb Kaplan, earlier today, that per NRS 241.033, item 6A for possible action on an interim library director was not properly noticed to Miss Stacy McKenzie. So we will not be dealing with that item tonight. Thank you. We will now proceed to call the roll of the Board of Trustees. May I start with you?
Trustee Mosher present. Trustee Jacks.
Trustee Rodriguez present.
Vice Chair Ruff present.
Chair Silver present. We'll now commence with public comment. There's a 3-minute limit. We ask everyone to stand at the podium and address the trustees, not the audience. And we will start with Heidi Young.
Sure. Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm a resident of Washoe County and a patron of the North Valley Library on a regular basis. My child and I use a wide variety of the services provided by the library. I'm speaking today in support of the funding proposal to fund the library throughout the rest of the year. I'm encouraging the Board of Trustees to do the work required to ensure that the full library budget is passed. I'm also in support of keeping Stacy McKenzie as the interim library director. The availability of library services is paramount to our community. As board federal benefits are such, it's necessary that the local county resources are there to fund everything.
Thank you. Caitlin Nichols.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Nichols, and I'm a tax-paying resident of Washoe County and citizen. I'm a huge library user, and I wanted to speak today in support of continuous funding of a library and also to approve Stacy McKenzie as the interim library director. I know my fellow voters failed to approve a funding mechanism that would have allocated money collected by the county to the library system for 30 more years. The language in the ballot was confusing and at a reading level above a lot of adults in America. It's no secret that we have a literacy crisis in the United States and that most of our residents do not have a collegiate education or understanding of legalese. I know Washoe County voters would have passed the measure if they truly understood what was being asked of them. The measure was not a new tax imposed on the residents of Washoe County. It is one thing to disagree with the idea of one politician versus another, but it is one thing to not understand the wording of a ballot measure. Over 60% of Washoe County residents have a library card. This is a resource used by a majority of residents, including myself. It would be devastating to take critical resources and funding away from our libraries. Libraries are critical to the community, and it would be an unfathomable loss to lose them or to have them greatly reduced due to inadequate funding. We cannot allow our libraries to drop their hours or number of days open or to reduce their staff, and we cannot allow them to lose their critical resources and programming opportunities that they provide to our community. I urge you to pass a funding proposal that would fund the library through the rest of the year. And I also, again, remind you to please approve Stacy McKenzie as the interim library director at the next meeting. I think she'll do a great job, and I have full confidence in her abilities. I know your job as trustees is tough, but please continue to fight for the community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Gail Townsend.
Gail Townsend for the record. I am resubmitting written comments that I gave the board. I have not seen them come either in the agenda packet, the minutes, or records of the meeting. My second question is about the bylaws. Roman numeral 2D, duties. It says that the board acknowledges the annual budget. I remember when this was added to the bylaws by Mr. Kaplan because he said that the library board of trustees really has no role in the budget. Perhaps Mr. Kaplan can explain why the LBOT has intruded itself into the process this year and now proposes to intrude itself into the process for 2027. The budget process was supposed to be transparent and open to the public, according to comments made at the Board of County Commission meetings in January. Instead, workshops were canceled, items were removed from the agenda, discussions took place behind closed doors, with all the backroom shenanigans that caused people to require open meeting laws in the first place. I'll repeat what I said. I have no confidence in this board, but the proof is in the pudding. On January 1st, we'll see whether the library fund is fully funded, as are all 23 departments, or whether this board has screwed up. Will this board work with an interim director, or will it continue the dysfunctional feuds of the last 3 years? Will the board conduct a professional search and hire a professional, fully qualified, accredited, credentialed director, or will it hire an ideologue who will degrade the library and continue attacks on our most vulnerable citizens? Thank you.
Thank you. Sandy Tibbet? I'm sorry, Penny Brock, excuse me.
Penny Brock, for the record, taxpayer and resident of Washoe County. I'm happy to tell the previous speakers that the County Commission plans to fully fund the library at $12 million for the next fiscal year, just like they did this year. There are no cuts. I have a question about the budget. I looked at the Nevada or at the Washoe checkbook, and under the library, it shows the expenses and so on, but under the library expansion fund is my question. And it was kind of hard to find. It's culture and recreation. And what was so interesting is that has been, there's been salaries taken out of that line item. Also expenditures for recreation. It didn't say what the recreation was. It didn't say how many employees are coming out of the expansion fund. So as a taxpayer, I would like to know how many staff are paid out of culture and recreation under the library expansion fund, and why that particular fund needs staff. And then I'd also like to know, as would many other taxpayers in Washoe County, what services and recreation. We would like an item of what those are for and what they cost. Also, it's a great concern to me that on April 8th, Debbie Sears was at the legislature testifying on AB 416, testifying in support of it to allow the hired librarians to address banning book issues. It is not to go to the elected county commission nor the appointed library board. How can a hired employee have this authority? Did the library board authorize her to go down there and testify? My knowledge of the policy of most boards in Washington by the county is that only if the authoritative board gives permission can a hired employee do that. It's of great concern that this bill also says that the parents or a taxpayer, if they're concerned about a book, would have to file a lawsuit. So my question is, who's going to pay for the librarians to defend themselves? I know that your attorney merely represents the library board. The county commission has someone from the DA's office representing them. So I would like to know who's going to pay for the librarians to defend themselves. I did not find that addressed in the bill, but I think that's pretty critical. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandy Tibbet.
So I thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight, trustees. So I'm here to address tonight's budget discussion and to seek clarity on the library staffing and funding, specifically regarding the FTE covered under the general and expansion funds. So I've been reviewing the budget. So in 2022, 15 full-time equivalents were added to the library staff to extend service hours. So 8 of them went to the general fund, 7 to the expansion fund. The FY 2025 budget report shows FY 2022's actual general fund budget at $10,041,613 for 125 FTEs. And then FY 23 at 10.5 million for the same 125 FTEs. These numbers seem reasonable to me, but this is where I get confused. So the FY 2024 budget report estimated 101 FTEs for the general fund, but adopted a $12.1 million budget, an increase of 1.2 million despite a decrease of 24 FTEs. Then the FY 2025 report shows FY 24's general fund at 11.9 million, covering 121 FTEs. So there's a sudden increase of 20 FTEs with no mention of any new hires in 2024. Yet FY 25 adopts a 12.5 million budget for 101 FTEs. Where did those 20 go in 2024? The same for the expansion fund. One area of the report indicates 28 FTEs since 2022 to present. And then on another area of the same report, it indicates 23 FTEs since 2022. It's very confusing. Are these 20 plus floating FTEs placeholders in order to ask for more funding? These fluctuations in FTEs and budget increases raises a lot of questions. Bottom line, the library doesn't need this additional funding. It wants it. It doesn't need it. Meanwhile, other parts of our community could greatly benefit from these resources. Comparing 1.3 million to our $1 billion county budget may seem minor to some people, but that money could transform lives in places like Gerlach, Cold Springs, and Lemon Valley. Gerlach needs a fire department. Our seniors, veterans, and homeless community deserve support. It's time for the library to make sacrifices, cut expenses, and share resources with underprivileged areas. Let's refocus on the Washoe County Library's mission to connect people with information, ideas, and experiences for enriched community, one person at a time. That means fostering free thought, not controlling it. Thank you.
Thank you. Kate Salim?
My name is Kate Salim, for the record. I'm here today to speak about the profound impact this institution has had on my life and why I believe it deserves your full support in the upcoming budget discussion. My relationship with the library began when I was just 6 years old. During a challenging family time, I went to live with my grandmother and she became my anchor, and our weekly visits to the library were a lifeline. Story hours sparked a lifelong love of reading, and the towering stacks of books I took home each week opened up entire worlds to me. That early experience instilled in me a deep appreciation for libraries as havens of knowledge and comfort. After my grandmother's passing, the library remained a sanctuary. I would walk to this very library seeking the safety and solace it offered. Later, during the turbulent years of middle school, it became a refuge from bullies, a place where the kind staff ensured I could simply be and read in peace. In high school, facing the hardship of living with an abusive father, the library was again my escape. It was a place where I could lose myself in study, complete my homework, and find moments of quiet amidst the storm. Years later, when my son was a baby, the newly opened Spanish Springs Library provided a precious 2-hour window of quiet during his father's brief care. As he grew, my son, the library continued to be a vital resource. As a scout leader, I witnessed firsthand the patience and kindness of the library staff as they guided a rambunctious group of cubs as they worked through their achievements. And when he reached high school, this very library offered him access to math tutoring, a crucial support for his education. Today, at 60, the library remains an integral part of my life. It's where I discover new reads for my book clubs, connect with friends, and continue my lifelong learning journey. My story, I believe, is not unique. Libraries are so much more than just books. They are safe places, educational hubs, community connectors, and vital support systems for individuals and families across the community. I sincerely hope this board will recognize the multifaceted role our library plays and recommend the additional support needed in the upcoming budget. Investing in our library is investing in the well-being and future of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Celia McGinty.
Thank you to the library board members for serving and listening to the public. My name is Celia McGinty. I'm a resident of Sparks and a regular library patron. I know you are all aware of the many programs and services our Washoe County libraries are providing. I most often use the library as a place to get reading material. I frequently check books from the library system, and I appreciate the convenience of the library website that makes searching for books, putting them on hold, and having them delivered to the library nearest to me so easy. But I also enjoy visiting our libraries to view the new book displays so I can choose books to read that I haven't heard of and wouldn't know about if it wasn't for these displays. I really appreciate how up-to-date the library's collection of books is. But there are other programs and services our Washoe County libraries are providing, and I know you are aware of them. Our libraries serve everyone: toddlers, children, teens, adults, seniors, parents, job seekers, people who need quiet places to work or study, people doing research. The list goes on and on. Libraries are helping people in our community develop their potential, stretch their imagination, find employment, learn to read, meet friends, develop new skills, be informed of new things, and more. Our libraries are making Washoe County a better place to live. Libraries had their start with the radical idea that books and the information in them should be available to all, not just the wealthy or the intellectual elite. Washoe County librarians have worked diligently to serve our community and continue this tradition. Their free services and programs have been available to all and serve to provide needed services while strengthening community bonds. I've come here this evening because I know libraries are important, because I know it takes money to keep libraries vibrant and able to serve their communities, because I know strong libraries serve us all, rich and poor alike. I know that even if you never use a library, you benefit from the ways in which they are helping the people around you. Libraries are not political. In fact, they are nonpartisan. Please urge the county commissioners to fully fund our libraries for the benefit of all of us who live in Washoe County. Please choose leadership for our library system that will continue the great work already being done. Thank you.
Thank you. Maureen McElroy.
Good evening. My name is Maureen McElroy for the record. First of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'd like to take this opportunity to share my appreciation of the work the board does. Surprise. I know you take your role seriously in supporting our library system. I know this is not an easy job. and I know you're volunteering your time. We, the public, have high expectations, as you've seen over the many, many months. As has been expressed by so many members of the public, these many past months, our library system is vital to us, and it holds such an important place in our lives. But I have confidence in you, each of you. I look forward to the continuing growth and improvement of our Washoe County Public Library system. And I look to you to help guide it, to protect it, and to advocate for it. Thank you so much for all of your hard work.
Thank you. Next public commenter, Donna Klontz.
Good evening, Board. My name is Donna Klontz, and I am a resident of Washoe County. I spend most of my time these days as a retired person volunteering in the senior community, and I've used your library resources so many times that I can't even list them all. So I'm here to support the fully funded budget that I'm hoping the commission does follow through with, and to thank you for allowing us as the seniors to have the opportunity to use the resources that you have for all of us. There's so many of us still, about 35 to 40% that don't really use the internet. And so they rely on coming to the library to get a little help from the librarians to look up things that they need and to fill out forms that have to go online. And so those services are vital to a lot of the folks here in the community. We also use the meeting rooms to hold programs for seniors. One in particular, I've got a few flyers that I'm going to leave that we're starting with to bring our seniors out of isolation. It's called the Connections Project. It's come up to us from Carson City, where small groups of folks get together and just have a conversation. And it's all ages. It could be young people all the way up to seniors. And so those are happening in our libraries as well. So again, I thank you for your service. Thank you for the opportunity to have all of the things that all of us need in the senior community. And we need our libraries to stay as vibrant as they have been all these years. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Douglas Miller.
Good evening, Board.
Can we proceed, Ms. Klontz? Great. Thank you very much. Sir, go ahead.
Good evening, Board. For the record, Douglas Miller, Reno, Nevada. I wanted to, firstly, irrespective of the, I guess, sort of controversial tenure of your last director, Mr. Scott, I wanted, for the record, thank Jeff Scott for, maybe selfishly speaking, for a constituent issue that he dealt with for me. Administratively, I think that he was the grown-up in the room, definitely. And I just wanted to thank him for that and you know, remind the board that in our society, sometimes controversy isn't bad. It's okay and it's necessary. That's the messy work of democracy. Secondly, regarding your action item, not just to appoint interim director, but beyond that, I'd like to encourage you for a truly do the hard work of a big search for the director, not just internal in silos with you know, longtime employees. I know that that's very popular in a lot of industries, including the library industry, but I truly hope that you will do the real work of finding someone that maybe is an out of the box person, thinker, someone from maybe a different industry, even from private sector, God forbid. So I really hope and encourage that you would do that real deep search. And lastly, I hope that regarding your budget issue, that you do not punish the residents of the county because WC1 did not pass. That, as I understand it, that was a budgetary tax issue from a very long time ago. It was meant for brick and mortar for very specific projects, and it got folded into the budget. And I think that was probably inappropriate. And I think that it really reflects mission creep, in all honesty, which is, again, something that happens in lots of industries. So I hope that there is a way to preserve services, perhaps with fewer staff. This isn't the 90s, this is the now. And the reality is that much of what we do is shared. It is, you know, it's on the interwebs. There are fewer people that are really required to do a lot of different tasking. I hope that you would take that into account when you advocate for this budget with the county. Don't just ask to find the same money in a different trough. try to do the same work without all the money. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else signed up for public comment? Is there anyone who did not sign up but wishes to speak during this time? If not, I'll move on to the next agenda item. I'm sorry? I didn't think so. Okay. Oh.
Andrea, can you hear us? Can you hear me? Yes, can you hear us? Oh, yes, thank you so much. I'll make this very brief for the record. Andrea Tavener. I'm a former Washoe County Library employee for luckily for about 12 years. I'd like to thank the board and especially the staff that have endured everything that's happening with the budget and the stress that comes with trying to manage that. So I applaud each and everyone that's involved with this. The one thing that I wanted to mention that the board or staff may not be aware of is in prior years, the Library Board of Trustees would always have a concurrent meeting with the Board of County Commissioners. And it typically happened usually around October of each year prior to the budget being presented to the library board and to the Board of County Commissioners so that all those things and questions could be answered publicly in front of everyone, including the county commissioners. And I know that stopped in or around 2017, and I'm not sure why, but that might be something that might be beneficial to look at moving forward to reestablish those concurrent meetings with the Library Board of Trustees and the Board of County Commissioners moving forward. So I wish you all the very best, and I thank you for everything that everyone is doing.
Thank you. Anyone else on Zoom or present here that wishes to make public comment at this time? All right, hearing none, I will move on to item number 3. 3A is Acting Director Report by Stacy McKenzie, and you have the floor.
Hello, thank you for welcoming me today. I have a very brief presentation, just an update of our current budget for fiscal year 2025. You've seen all of the line items. I just wanted to give you an idea kind of where we are right now. First, we're looking at our general fund, and if you'll scroll down, this is kind of just an overview. I'm just going to hit the high marks here. At the very end, for this fiscal year, our plan was 12,000,006 and some change there. And currently in the general fund, we are about 20% left over. So we spent about 80%. That's right on track. Actually, it's a little above where we normally are, but we do have a lot of savings for the frozen positions that we have. So if we look at the general fund, I think, I'm sorry, that was the general fund. If we look at the expansion fund, the bottom line item is just a little bit different. If you'll stop right there. Thank you, Kristen. If you'll see up at the top, the revenue normally is about 4.5 million in this particular budget item. And because of the way that expansion fund works, that doesn't fall down to the very end on the other one where we saw what we've got. So in this fund, we've got 4.5. And currently, after all the math, we're at about the same spot there. It shows that we're 24% overspent, but that is not true. There's a couple areas, especially like in our collections budget, that shows that we're overspent, but that's an encumbered amount. And that is where at the end of the year, we look at things that are outstanding. We delete those off, order them the next year. So we've got a lot of savings this year, almost 40% of our total budget. A lot of that is because of our frozen positions. In fact, most of that is because of our frozen positions. We have two months left, of course, but because of our frozen positions and because of that, we are hurting a little bit staffing wise across the system, urgent staffing requests almost every day for the system. So we're hoping to hear soon from the county how the the positions will be unfrozen or how we'll be addressing that. The library has been freezing positions a little bit longer than the rest of the county because we weren't sure where our budget was going to go. But so we do have this savings because of staff savings right now. We're hoping that they will release those positions and we can hire them soon. We also have underway positions for our branch managers underway to hire those. And so we'll see how that lines out and if there are frozen positions because of those hirings, but we'll go from there. Do you have any questions? That is really all I have for you.
I have a question, Trustee
Yes.
Silver. If I'm understanding correctly, we have millions of dollars left in the expansion fund, and that must be used first.
Oh, yeah.
It's on.
Oh.
Okay,
So, oh, there we go.
Chair Silver,
Right.
is that better? If I understand correctly, and I've looked at this, we have
Mhm.
millions of dollars left in the expansion fund, which we must use first. So I have difficulty understanding, not line item budgets. I read like everyone else can, we all can. My
Okay.
question is, why were there signs noting that effective July 1st, there would be layoffs and closures?
We no longer have those signs up. And at that time, we were not sure of any budget situations that we had. Now we know that we will at least have our regular general fund budget and then the reserve amount from our expansion fund budget. Whatever we have left over in this expansion fund will also carry over into that amount. But I am not aware of what those when we were unsure about the budget, that was definitely a possibility presented. But now we feel more confident about having hopefully a flat budget where we won't have layoffs this year. But at that time, I was not aware of the leftover amount of the expansion fund, which does save a lot of our jobs.
Well, I'm not faulting anyone in any way, but I do think there were statements made by the public or perhaps some misconceptions that effective July 1, there would be layoffs and closures. And based on the balance, which must have been even more 2 or 3 months ago in the expansion fund, there was no sign of any need to do layoffs or closures. So I'm saying that to you, but for the benefit of the public that I think was dramatically impacted by those signs and this the suddenness of people will be laid off and out of jobs July 1, when that was never the case. And certainly the amount was more than 4.6 3 months ago. So
Yes.
I think we misled the public, not you in particular, please don't take it that way. The universal we, we're all part of misleading the public and perhaps creating more drama than needed to be created in morale for staff with the notion that effective July 1, there would be layoffs. At no time did I think there would be, given the fact the expansion fund must be used first, and there were millions of dollars remaining in that. So thank you. Any other questions from my fellow trustees?
Trustee Moser. So I just wanted to get some clarification on the expansion fund. So if we do have leftover of the expansion fund, you're saying that it can roll over.
Yes, that's
Okay.
the only part of the budget that could roll over because that has to be used for libraries.
Okay, because I was just confused because when we met, was it last week, I think, I wrote down that any unused expansion money would roll over, but it would not be in the library fund. It would just be in the general pot. And so maybe Abby can clarify on that more, but that's what I had written down from our meeting when we went over the budget with Abby.
After July 1st, any money that would have normally gone into the expansion fund for the libraries then will go into the
General pot.
general fund. But anything that has been collected prior to July 1st, and Abby can definitely clarify, does have to be used for the library. So that would take effect July 1st.
Okay.
So a brief question.
This report that we're seeing here, is it this kind of double-sided thing that backs up to the next presentation? Is that what this report is? The same
one
one?
is going to be Abby's. Mine didn't have a header page.
Okay,
Mine was just the lovely line items. I just got access to all this last week and we printed it off Monday, so it was most up to date.
Okay, is this one in our packet?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Just that I'm really excited to work with you all on the future budgets and make sure that I express very clearly that we do need our budget, that we do need to be fully funded, and that it's all one pot of money. I'll say it's all the county's money, and what was allocated for the library for is now still there. The library has given a lot of funding for has saved a lot of money for the county with our staff savings and with what we will be giving back now that we don't have the expansion fund, but we're ready to move forward, work with a great budget, work with a great board and make good things happen.
Not to get the last word in, but I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
Just get one for further clarification for rows 701408 callback. I don't have that listed, but what does that entail? It's not a huge budget item. I just am not sure what it is.
And which one is that one?
It's callback. So 701408.
Callback pay is, let's say the library's closed for the day and per our security schedule, if an alarm goes off and security can't clear the building or needs in or something, they will contact a staff member, usually the branch manager, and they get callback pay for that.
Is that per a collective bargaining agreement?
Yes. There's very little things that aren't. So
Not that I want to get the last word in, and we're looking forward to report from Abby. Just to once again note for the public, because I think there's been a lot of drama about the budget and accusation. Let me try again. That's okay. I have to eat the mic. Okay. Just to once again state, and this is for the public, because I think there's been so much drama and perhaps some misconceptions from the public regarding the expansion fund. While we recognize WC1 did not pass, there are millions of dollars sitting in that fund that we have the availability to use and must use. So contrary to what emails I've gotten and phone calls I've gotten about the board has destroyed funding for the library, we have millions of dollars in the expansion fund. And so I think facts are important. People have opinions, but facts really matter. And this shows the facts. So I appreciate that very much. Any other comments?
And Trustee Moser for the record. So I just wanted to see, and you might not know off the top of your head, and I was trying to calculate quickly, but how many of the positions that are frozen are positions that will have to be filled, such as an interim branch manager as opposed to librarians?
Well, the interim branch manager is kind of like a whole other animal, but obviously we have a director position that needs to be filled and we have about 7 or 8 other positions and we really need them all. They're everything from aide positions up to branch manager positions. We do have librarian positions, which were very critical. We have a couple lead positions, which branch manager down to LA3s are lead positions, which is getting very critical because we need to have 2 lead positions in each library at all times. And right now, at least 1 lead in the library for all hours open. Right now, we are making some special exceptions for maybe 30 minutes for somebody to take a lunch or something like that. But we're getting down to a critical time where we don't have enough leads. And that's one of the urgent staffing requests. Is that, can you send a lead over? Do you have somebody to help us, who's been trained to, lead the building and take care of emergencies? So, even though most of those positions are lead positions, actually, we do have a few part-time, an aide position, at least 1. And, I think, a couple LA2 positions, which are both part-time and full-time, but most of them are critical for us, our staffing and keeping our doors open.
Any further questions from any trustee? Hearing none, and thank you, Ms. McKenzie. Appreciate your report. We will move on to item number B, which is we have the privilege of having the Washoe County CFO, Abby Yakiman, here. She's going to discuss and perhaps we will take action to schedule additional meetings and to discuss and work on the FY fiscal year 27 library budget. Abby, it's all yours.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the Library Board of Trustees and members of the audience. Thank you so much for having me this evening. I'm going to give a very brief, what I'm calling kind of a stage setting presentation on to follow up on what Stacy talked about related to the different types of funding that we have, the residual fund balance, and where a proposal that I think is a win-win for the Library Board of Trustees, for the team, and for the Board of County Commissioners, and then talk about some proposed next steps, and then we'll go from there. So if you might, thank you. So here we go. We have an intro. My name is Abby Yacoba, and I'm the Chief Financial Officer for the county. Again, thank you very much for having me. I'll talk about the two funds, the residual fund balance that carries over into the fiscal year beginning on July 1st of 2025, which we call fiscal year 2026. There's a proposed solution to maintain a flat budget but maintain the libraries, keep them whole for the year so that we can work our way through new operational plans if you desire one after the WCO1 results. And then some next steps discussion, be very, very brief. So I've received many questions and I wanted to make this basic because it's our first discussion about this topic in open session with the public. We have two funds that the library is funded by, or the libraries are funded by. One is the general fund, and these are very round numbers because I didn't want us to focus on the nuts and bolts. I wanted us to focus on the higher level, and then over the summer, the next 4 or 5 months, we'll delve into the nuts and bolts. But the general fund budget is around $12.5 million. It houses approximately 101 employees, and we call them full-time equivalents because there are not 101 people there. They're full-time equivalents, so that can fluctuate some. And in the general fund, by best accounting standards and the Nevada revised statutes, I believe it's in 354, but please don't quote me on that. The savings in the general fund is not associated with the particular department that generated the savings. It goes down into what we call fund balance at the end of the year, and it's to be used for all of the services and all of the departments coming out of the general fund. And that's by law and by accounting standards. The expansion fund, as you know better than I, was voted on in 1994. It was a 30-year 2-cent property tax to be allocated for library expansion. The budget is approximately $4.5 million every year. And this is, again, round numbers, just so that we're all kind of on the same page and leveling the playing field here. Approximately 23 employees or full-time equivalents are in that fund. The savings in this case, as was mentioned very articulately before this discussion, is retained for the library because it's in what's called a special revenue fund, meaning that those funds are only to be used for that purpose. So it is not treated the same as the general fund going down into the general fund balance. It's held separately for library expansion purposes voted on in 1994. The residual balance or the fund balance, we can call them either, is estimated to be $3.5 million as of June 30 of 2025. We're estimating because we haven't closed the books and we won't know for a little while. The reason for that is because June 30 comes and we continue to pay bills for approximately 60 days after the fiscal year ends because you have services rendered on June 30, you're billed in July, we're paying in July or at the beginning of August. And we want to make sure to account for things in the right fiscal period, so we leave the books open for 60 days. And again, that must be used for the original intent, which was the expansion, and these are completely separate funds. So if you look on the state's budget document or the county's budget book, you'll see them in different places. One is in the general fund, one is in the special revenue funds. Thank you. So the topic of the additional, I'm calling it additional support for the libraries. It's called many things, but we've been calling it additional support of $1.3 million. This is if you add this to the residual balance, you would get almost a flat budget in the libraries. And again, that $1.3 million is an estimate based on the $3.5 million that's fund balance as of June 30. We rounded up a little bit because the books are not closed and we do not know what that balance will be, and we did not want to unintentionally short the library if that was not the Board of County Commissioners' intention. So that funding would maintain a flat library budget for fiscal year 2026. And for people who may be new to the table, that's July 1st of 2025 through June 30, 2026. Fiscal years run differently in different states, so I always try to clarify that for those who are new here. So why is this a transition year? The vote happened in November. The Board of County Commissioners and the executive team at the county and the library Board of Trustees, we've heard many things about we'd really like to see where we are, let the dust settle, do an analysis of the desired operating levels, operational needs, and once we get that, we would return, meaning the Library Board of Trustees, with our help, of course, as budget staff and accounting staff, propose a solution to the Board of County Commissioners and return September 30th, October 1st of 2025, so that the Board of County Commissioners has time to digest this, make comments, ask questions, and then incorporate this new funding level, if agreed upon, into its fiscal year 27, which begins on July 1st of 2026 budget. Excuse me. Thank you. Oh, can you hear me now? Can the people online hear me? Thank you for the comment. Well, okay. I hope they can. I hope people can hear. And I will note that there is a typo on this slide. I apologize for that. I put the word "of" in 2 times. I got a little excited, I think. So next steps, as I see them, and certainly this is up to the Library Board of Trustees and the Board of County Commissioners, but the next steps are to assess and determine operational needs, determine those resulting budgetary needs with our team. If the operational level is X, this is how much it costs to provide X or Y or whatever the model may be, and then propose that to the Board of County Commissioners on September 30th of 2025. And if I can back up very quickly, you don't need to back up the slides, but for narration purposes, I think there's a win-win solution here between the grant the 1.3 million and don't grant the 1.3 million. So what staff, meaning myself and my teammates, will be proposing, if it's amenable to you, to the Board of County Commissioners informally on the 13th of May during a briefing, in a public briefing, but for vote on May 20th, if the briefing is successful on the 13th, is to grant the $1.3 million, budget it centrally in the county's general fund, and then as the Library Board of Trustees has its time to digest the new operating levels and the new funding needed, you could take a vote either semi-annually or quarterly. I wouldn't do it too much more often than that because I don't think it's needed. We could move that money from the central location in the general fund where it's controlled by finance into the library fund in order to spend those monies as they were needed. But remember, we have to spend, as you mentioned before, Madam Chair, the residual fund balance first. So in theory, that gives us time to think our way through what the operating levels are, what the funding is needed, what type of funding is needed, and then take a more informed vote. So thank you for letting me go back. With that, I will be happy to take any questions you may have, and I hope people can hear online.
First of all, I want to thank you for the most concise and rational commentary on the budget I've heard since being on this board. I think clarification, and I'm sorry there aren't more people here tonight. We usually have a very packed house, but I think you have given information that should clarify and quell any dramatic concerns out there that effective July 1st, there were 23 people due to be laid off because there are clearly millions of dollars remaining in that fund, that it could be continued and must be used. And we're not anxious to pay anybody $3 million, but we have a lot of money to pay individuals who are reliant and were booked under that expansion fund. And that what you're suggesting is that we develop a plan whereby that 1.3 million that would make us whole and allow us to get what we feel we need, and the assistant library director, and I'm sure her colleagues feel we need, would be over a period of time examined by the board. You would hold that money in abeyance, and we would come to you to request what we need, if we need, but presuming we come up with a plan to utilize it, it would then go before the commissioners for their approval. Am I repeating what you've said correctly?
Madam Chair, 99% yes. After the Board of County Commissioners, if we brief and if they're amenable to this.
Okay.
And I don't, Okay, I can hear it. I can hear the microphone working now. If the Board of County Commissioners is amenable, we would place that $1.3 million centrally. You would vote, and then that would authorize our staff to release, make transfers into the library fund. The board does their appropriation during the budget season once a year. So they will not do it as you vote, we will transfer.
And that is May 13th?
The 13th will be the briefing, but no voting will happen. Well, not on the full budget, but on May 20th, the Board of County Commissioners will vote on the final budget. There will be a public hearing.
So can you make clear for me between the 13th and the 20th, what would need to occur?
Well, on the 13th, we'll be sort of taking the temperature of the Board of County Commissioners. And if they are amenable, if you are amenable, and if they are amenable to this idea, then we will place the $1.3 million into the budget centrally. They will adopt it that way. And then we will be off to the races, and you will begin studying your operations, and we will begin monitoring thoroughly.
So best case scenario, we might get the full 1.3 million. If further studies showed that there are efficiencies to be gained, it might be less than 1.3, but I can't repeat enough that the drama surrounding the budget was, I think, an unintended consequence of not fully understanding what you have just clarified. For my fellow trustee, I have no problem reading line items. I think we were never given the kind of concise report you have just given about the two sets of money, nor did we fully understand, and I have, but you've clarified that the expansion fund dollars are pretty robust. 3.5, maybe if a little bit of is spent, it's 3 million, maybe 2.8, but we have time to work with that and then meet more regularly than once a month to digest what an interim director or and in addition to library managers feel we need as musts versus wants, so that we are honoring, much to our dismay, but the will of the voters that said no to WC1, but to do our due diligence in looking at the budget from the perspective of every other department in the county is being affected. We need to play in the same sandbox as everybody. Would you agree with that statement?
Yes, Madam Chair.
I'm sorry. All right, thank you. Are there other questions? Yes.
Explanation, Trustee Moser for the record. Actually, okay, I lost where I was. So if somebody else wants to go.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the record. Trustee Jacks, thank you for being here. I really appreciate your time. I did meet with you last year. You and I met. Really appreciated that meeting. I did have a couple questions, and I'm not sure if it would tie into Stacy's kind of budget items. But as far as software programs, does the library use, what software program, that chart that we saw, Stacy said that was your chart? This one up here with the numbers?
The county's accounting system of books and records is SAP.
Is it the same as the
Yes.
Everybody uses SAP?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Few follow-up questions. Is that software expense on any of those items for the SAP, or is each department, does the county have that cost as a whole, or does that break down into the library?
I can double check this, but I don't believe the library has a separate SAP charge. You would pay for the software that you particularly, that's specific to the library. However, there's indirect cost allocation, and you would pay for this through your overhead charge, I believe.
Okay, thank you. Just another follow-up. Does that same software, does it generate time management reports, cash flow reports, things like that, that same software?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Last question. So the internal financial backup documents, basically going back to when I met with you last year, my question kind of was, the library budget comes into you just as a brief general overview. Those documents of those internal financial backup documents, a BUS file backup scan, that's what we call it. But like backup documents, those internal ones, are those all available for audit to the board or for review by the board, those documents?
Do you mean, I want to clarify and make sure that I understand
Okay.
what you're asking. Do you mean the documents that are submitted by each and every department to the budget division to compile and have leadership and the Board of Trustees and the library board and all the other boards review?
Yes.
So those would be available for the records retention. I don't know, frankly, I
Okay.
don't know how many years we keep them, but yes.
Okay, and then essentially, sorry, last question. Those internal documents are the ones, and I understood this from before, came into you basically from the top of the leadership of the library, meaning library director would be submitting that to you.
Correct.
Okay. And then that, the rest comes under there. Thank you, Madam Chair. That was all I had. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
C. Moser again, I'm sorry. Okay, so I just wanted to check for the proposed plan that you had. Does that include the salary vacancy savings as well, or where does that fit in?
We budgeted vacancy savings for, we are proposing, the board has not passed the budget yet, but we are proposing to budget vacancy savings county-wide. So yes, you will see vacancy savings in your general fund budget.
Lastly, Trustee Moser, for the record, in order for you to get this approval that you seek, would that need to be an official vote from us? Or in what type of way could we say that we do give, that approval for the county commission, for you to go to the county commission and say it is amendable to the board? Just because I do notice that it's a report today and not an official item to vote on, and our next meeting is the 21st.
You are correct. I noticed that we are not agendized for you to vote specifically on that. So in the absolute worst case scenario is that we hold those funds centrally. You decide you don't want them, and then we continue to hold them there, and then they lapse into the general funds fund balance, and there is no harm done in that situation. And that's what I would propose to do. Thank you.
My fault. Sorry. It's either too loud or not at all. I want to just clarify, for purposes of potential action by this board, your recommendation is that in fact we meet as often as we choose, but hopefully more than less, so that we can work through what you are proposing to hold 1.3 million in abeyance, and for us to determine, working with the interim director and her or his team, whoever it is, that we work through how to justify either all or part of that 1.3 million. Is that correct?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay. Then I would put a motion forward, or I guess I would like a motion from my trustees that we take Ms. Yakiman's recommendation. And that is predicated on our willingness to meet again on the 21st, and then 2 weeks later, and 2 weeks later, if possible. And yeah, it says for possible.
Herb Kaplan for the record.
Agendize the meetings.
The,
It says
it
for
is for
possible.
possible action with regard to scheduling meetings.
Right.
I believe that's what Chair Silver was referring to.
Right. I'm looking for a motion for this board to, based on a timeframe of early fall, that we, first of all, make clear to the public we are in no jeopardy, make clear to the public that there are no layoffs or library closures, that your win-win proposal is that that 1.3 be held in abeyance. We do our homework as a board to determine, in concert with library professionals, what portion, if not all, of that 1.3 we would be asking the commissioners to grant us. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, then I would like a motion on that, please.
Vice Chair Ruff. Going to try to word this correctly. Thank you, Abby, for your amazing, I don't think you can hear, presentation. I think it was very clear. So I move that the board schedule additional meetings as necessary to to discuss and work on the FY 27 budget for your recommendations. Does that sound?
That's what's written. Do you have any objection?
Recommendations. Yes.
Deputy
Second.
Chaplain?
Trustee Moser.
Hang on 1 minute. Yeah, I can't tell from your expression. Are we okay on that motion?
That's fine.
Yes, great.
Okay,
Okay, do I have a second?
Leah did.
For the second.
Terrific. All those in favor?
Can
Aye.
we open it for discussion?
Sure, of course.
My question is, depending on the number of needed meetings, is this something that we could just agendize into a regular meeting? So that we don't have to have an extra meeting just for this if we only need perhaps 1 or 2 during the fall?
Perhaps you could clarify the deadline for requesting from the commissioners, either all or part of the 1.3 million.
Correct. Thank you, Abby Yukoven, for the record. So Trustee Rodriguez, you can certainly meet at the frequency that you wish. I know that the Board of County Commissioners would like to have a conversation at the end of September, the beginning of October, related to the 2027 needs and expectations and operational models. So however you feel that you can get there is amenable.
Trustee Rodriguez, I appreciate that, we all have lives and we don't want to meet every week or every 2 weeks, but I think we are working up against an important deadline. We have significant work to do because I think we all want to ensure a robust, vibrant library system. It has gone through a lot of drama over the last year relative to the budget. We learned tonight that we're in good hands, no layoffs. We are not closing libraries or reducing hours at this time, but it is part of our due diligence to better understand that 1.3 that you're advocating, we have an opportunity to review, if that's correct.
Madam Chair, yes.
Okay, Ms. McKenzie.
Because we are talking about planning for the 2026 fiscal year and for the 2027. And my understanding is that the conversation tonight for the 2026 budget is to hold the 1.3 in abeyance. And then for that particular budget, I come to you every quarter, we'll say, if we're talking about the most amount, and say, here's our budget, here's what we need out of that 1.3 to get us through this next quarter. For the 2027 budget, though, we're talking about 4.6 million. So I just wanted to clarify that is what these more often meetings would be for. Is that, am I getting that?
That's what I think. We have a lot of work to do, and this is the first time I think all of us have gotten a clear and concise, and you may have already had that, but a clear and concise overview that will reduce the drama and the vitriol regarding the board doesn't care about the libraries or doesn't care about layoffs or closures. We do very much, and I think your compromise is a win-win. And I think we owe it to the public, as long as we can get a quorum, to become as well-versed and educated on this budget as possible, and relying on our acting director, whatever her title may be in the future, to walk us through the needs so that we have ample opportunity to make a recommendation that you're advocating we make to the county commissioners on what we need of that 1.3 million.
Correct. Yes, Madam Chair.
Trustee Rodriguez, any more questions about that?
No.
All right, we have a motion on.
Trustee Moser, sorry.
Sure.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for being so thorough. I really greatly appreciate all of the evidence you've given us for this and coming up with a really logical proposal. I did just want to bring up, and I haven't gone to look at this at all, but if there could be some explanation to the FTEs and the increase or decrease of the budgetary numbers. And if you need this, you can have this, but just because I haven't looked at this, but if there is a discrepancy, I'd just like to know why.
Certainly, Trustee Moser, we can certainly brief you on that, or brief the board on that at a later date. Thank you.
There's a motion on the floor and a second that we take action on what can best be described as additional meetings when they are convenient and when we can not violate open meeting law, but clearly working through the deputy district attorney, scheduling some meetings in which we can have a quorum to delve into the 1.3 so that we have a timely period prior to making a recommendation to the county commissioners. So I will call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Unanimous. We have taken action, and thank you so much, Abby. Truly appreciate your presentation. Thank you. 6B, action on the Nevada Attorney General's Office findings of fact and conclusions of law regarding open meeting law complaint, file number 13897-506 for possible action. Is this something you will present, sir?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Herb Kaplan for the record. And I just want to make sure that you understand that you are taking this out of order, but that's fine. There are other items on the agenda prior to this, but we can certainly take this item now if.
Please. I'll go
Thank
back
you.
to old business.
In the packet, there are findings, fact, and conclusions of law that were issued by the Nevada Attorney General's office in connection with open meeting law complaints regarding issues on the December 2023 and the January 2024 meetings of this board. Document does find a technical violation of the open meeting law regarding the minutes from the December 2023 meeting, but also notes that the violation has been corrected. There were several other complaints involved in the findings, and none of which were found to be violations of the open meeting law. However, NRS 241.0395 subsection 1 provides, quote, if the Attorney General makes findings of fact and conclusions of law that a public body has violated any provisions of this chapter, the public body must include an item on the next agenda posted for a meeting of the public body which acknowledges the existence of the findings of fact and conclusions of law. As a result, I would ask and recommend that the board acknowledge the existence of the findings of fact and conclusions of law.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion to accept the findings of fact and law as presented by Deputy District Attorney Kaplan?
Madam Chair, Vice Chair Ruff, I move that the board accept the findings of fact and conclusions of the law regarding the open meeting law complaint, file number 13897-506.
Is there a second?
Trustee Rodriguez, I'll second that.
Thank you. Let me call for a vote. Is there any discussion prior to that time? Any clarification needed? Seeing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Seeing no objections, that passes. Let me go back. It was probably a Freudian slip to miss item number 5, old business. Does anyone have any old business they would like to discuss? I'm sorry. Let's see. It's all board comment. I'm sorry. Our board comment is limited to announcements, strategic plan activity, updates or issues proposed for future agendas and or workshops. Do I have comments from my fellow trustees?
Just as, since we're not covering item 6A today, to add that to the agenda of our upcoming meeting.
Trustee Moser for the record. Some updates that I wanted to give were in regards to the Sparks Library mural. We have come up with a committee, including me and the interim manager, Carrie Stendel, and Monica, and I forgot her last name, but she did all of the boxes in Reno, all the art boxes in Reno, and then also Vice Chair Ruff. We will probably open it up to Sparks Sparks community members if any of you would be interested in being on that committee. Additionally, for the next meeting, I would like to have an update on the library bill that's has included public libraries at this point. I would also like to get some information about the concurrent county commission meetings that Miss Andrea Tavener spoke of. I think that would be really, I think, useful, and it's sad that that didn't continue. And other than that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Yes, I would also like to hear from Debbie Steers on her testimony on to the legislature. I don't believe the board was aware that was going to happen, so if we can just get a briefing from her on what she had to say, that would be helpful. And we'll add the mural committee information and put on the agenda per Trustee Rodriguez a vote for interim library director. Any other comments from the board?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Trustee Jacks. I did have a couple questions for staff and just a few follow-ups that we had from the comments earlier. I was wondering, I had sent a couple emails. We just want to make sure that the board completed the required county training. I think I had sent an email and it went to a Washoe County outside of library admin, just trying to confirm that the board had that code of ethics training requirement and that we all completed it. I want to say it came from Bethany Drysdale. From the county as a whole, they wanted everybody to do it. Right. So I just wanted to make sure I did mine. I asked for confirmation, kind of to double check, never really got it. We just want to make sure everybody's records had that clear that that was done. In addition to that, the library training courses that the board was sent, those are kind of a self-paced, not required training courses that the library board was sent. So I just wanted to mention that, and I think the board does that because we enjoy it. Library training, I don't know if everyone else did it, but it is kind of fun. Also, I just wanted to ask the staff if we could possibly get a clarification on what would be considered the gate count at the libraries. So we had a gate count overview in past meetings, but the accuracy of basically patron participation, the gate count includes every employee, right? So I understand that that's the way the system has been, but how do we get a patron gate count of activity versus employees, things like that? So I don't know if it's possible to get that. I don't know if we can talk about that, but I think that would be interesting. So the gate count numbers that the board was given, when we asked about those in previous meetings, how do you get your gate count? For easy math, 100 per day. Well, you don't know how many of those are patrons, employees, etc. So just would be better to get that accurate count. Excuse me, just a few more questions.
Trustee Jacks, may I ask, are you recommending this as an agenda item or it's something you want a report
I
on?
was asking staff maybe how or we could glean from other libraries. I mean, how do you get an accurate gate count of patron usage? I guess, is it when they're actually checking in and out versus just employees walking, not just employees, but could be repairman or whatever. Real brief. I know we're not going out of. Stacy, did you? Oh, okay.
I'll add it to my next.
Okay. I
That'd be
don't
great.
think ready for
Please.
agenda item yet,
Yes.
but maybe we can work
We'll have
together.
Ms. McKenzie make a report.
Okay.
Terrific. Thank you.
And then the website, I was wondering if staff could let us know who maintains the library website, who is in charge of that, updating it, and what about the current technology survey? Who's kind of designed that survey, designed the questions? Which kind of team did that technology survey? I did it. So I was just wondering about that. And then briefly, just wanted to discuss the bylaws that the board has on our website. it does say that individual trustees should, as the public commenter mentioned, review the budget, but the board intruding itself into the county budget is under NRS 379.025. So the trustees are required to analyze the budget as according to the bylaws, that verbiage that was quoted. But the intrusion of the budget details is part of our NRS. Those combo meetings, I think, that were mentioned between the BCC, the county commission, and the library board stopped in 2017, as was reported. I think we know why that stopped in 2017, right? So no more joint meetings, no more oversight. It's been that way ever since. And I believe the county commission has been speaking about developing a policy where that's really laid out. And so I enjoyed that discussion by the county commissioners. And thank you, Madam Chair. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, we'll move to I'm sorry, go ahead, Vice Chair.
Madam Chair, Vice Chair Ruff, I just wanted to thank Stacy. I know it's been a busy few weeks. Thank you for stepping in and taking care of things. And all of the staff at all of the libraries. I haven't made it out to all of them again, but I've tried to get out to many of them just to check in with librarians, branch managers, and just let them know that we are working on all of this. And I think tonight, and Chair Silver, I think you said it perfectly, we have been working on this. We are concerned about the monies, and what we are doing is moving forward to make sure that the libraries do stay the vibrant places that they are, fully staffed and having all of the hours. A couple of the questions, I have done the county required, online, the ethics and the other harassment, but it keeps telling me I need to do one, and it's the same, and it keeps telling me, but I've done them. So, I don't know. I emailed someone and it went to the ether, so I don't know where.
Me as well.
No one ever.
Me as well.
Yeah, so I think that might be all. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Really quick, I just also wanted to, Trustee Moses, shout out to Sierra. She's been doing a fantastic job. She's been in this position for, I think, less than 3 months, and she is thorough. She gets back quickly. She's responsive. You're doing amazing. So we're very happy to have you.
Thank you. And I will echo our thanks to the entire library team. It hasn't been easy over the last year, but we thank everyone for behaving professionally with dedication and with a tremendous amount of expertise that we all realize you have. And hopefully the public understands that a budget is not simply reading a line item. It's understanding the two budgets. It's understanding how they work. I'm thrilled that Abby was able to make it here tonight to give us a very concise way of looking at what we have to do going forward. But also, Stacy, I would hope you would reassure your team that no one is being laid off on July 1, and there are no library closures on July 1. I think those signs did a lot of damage. People keep asking me about that. I get emails about that. And if you could clarify in any team meeting you have that no one should be concerned about that. I mean, I was not, but over the course of many public comments, there was a great deal of concern about how the board could allow that to happen. I was aware it would not, with at least 3 million, barring some other massive expense, that those positions would remain, given the 3.5, which could be reduced over a period of time. But right now, no one's job is under threat. So if you could make sure your team knows that for morale purposes. Moving on, if there are no other board comments, is there any old business? I don't believe there is, but if anyone has old business. Hearing none, I will move to item number 7, which is our last public comment opportunity at a time limit of 3 minutes per person. Is there anyone who wishes to come forward? I have no other names. Is there anyone on Zoom? Great. Thank you very much. Gail Townsend.
different funds. And I really don't appreciate being involved. But the remarks I was going to make are that last time I talked about my mother's family and experienced the Holocaust, the Holocaust even touches me closer than that because the first people Nazis went after were the disabled. And that's a group that I belong to by virtue of having been born with a neurodivergent brain. Seems to work fine for me, but people like to label other people. So I get really upset when this board attacks or allows to be attacked most vulnerable people in our society, most vulnerable citizens, because I want to make that emphatic. These people are citizens of our country. A few months ago, I talked with my first-grade grandson and his desire to choose his own book. He's gone further in conversations with those. He really thinks that kids should be able to make their own decisions, at least some of them. Of which I am, say at any age or while before they go to school. If you add school age kids, 54% of parents think children
What about now? Okay, all right, great. Naseem Jamnia for the record. I am truly astonished to hear the board assert that the county presentation is the first time you see the numbers laid out so clearly. In October 2024, there is a presentation that distinctly shares what comes from the general fund, what comes from the expansion fund, and other funding sources. It breaks down both the general fund and the expansion fund by staff and benefits, service and supplies, seminars and meetings, library current titles, operating supplies, and non-capital equipment. I have the agenda pulled up right now and see those numbers and could rattle them off. It is incredibly disingenuous. The reality is the board did not like the last library director. Fine, he's gone. But let's not pretend you haven't seen these numbers before. The board's assertion that there has been drama due to a lack of facts or clarity is also astonishing. The so-called dramatics is why there is a potential for flat budget funding. The so-called dramatics is people who saw WC1 fail and wants to make sure that you all continue to advocate for the library, as is your job as the board. It happens to be that 23 staff will not lose their jobs this July. What happens when that 4.5 million runs out? The whole point of WC1 was to ensure that there was a continuing money allocated to the library. We're not getting that money. So what, you bought us another 6 months? Congratulations. What will you do once that runs out? Are you going to find $4.5 million in efficiencies? I certainly hope your budget discussions are as productive as you hope they'll be. I hope any of you know what goes into running a county-wide library system. To my understanding, no other department in the county is having such scrutiny over their budgets the way the library is. Having 1.3 million in the county's central fund that is quote unquote supposed to be for the library means that the library has to grovel for that money in order to do its job, the way no other department has to. This is not a win, this is capitulation. It is also astonishing to me that you could consider not appointing Stacey McKenzie as the interim director as you search for a full-time director. Why do I say this? Because of what was said at this meeting. Interim director and her team, or his team. That was said. Are you going to seriously leave our library without a director who knows the system, who has a relationship with the employees, who has been here for over a year? And for what? Because she was Jeff Scott's assistant director for a year? Acting Director McKenzie has been very accommodating and has stated very clearly that she is eager to work with you, the board. Would you seriously deny the library a competent interim director as you take your time through the budget, something you could have been doing separately on your own time since at least October. Who knows when you'll get around to looking for a competent library director? Do not deprive the library system of someone who already knows it as you look for someone who doesn't. Also, for what it's worth, the Nevada Library Association lobbies at the legislature. So it's not that unusual for librarians to advocate on their own behalf at the legislature. You are responsible to educate yourselves. I'm so glad Trustee Jacks finally addressed the trustee training, a thing I have brought up consistently since May 2024. We all wait with bated breath to hear what you learn in those, since they're apparently not mandatory. Shocking to me, the idea of not doing training for a job most of you don't come in automatically qualified to do from your past experiences. Thank you.
Wow. Tara DeQuires.
I also feel that facts are important. I'm a scientist and my whole career has been working with data and facts. None of us were confused about the urgency of the budget. The 4.5 million from the expansion fund included funds for new North Valley's library. That money has been reallocated to rescue the positions that exist within the expansion fund. Once that money is spent, those positions are once again in jeopardy. And on top of that, the North Valleys is not getting a new library. Why is the board trying to take control of the budget and discarding the staff's assurance that the library needs to be fully funded? This whole process is creating a serious lack of trust from the public. Library staff has said that the library needs this money to function. The public have been coming forward for more than a year to explain that library services are absolutely essential to us and to ask the board to please keep the library fully funded. Looking for efficiencies is not what the public is asking for. All of this is obviously political and the public is not going to stand for it.
Kate Salim.
Kate Salim for the record. First, I hope the board will support Stacy McKenzie as the interim director. This library, these staff members have lost their director as of last month. Actually, it's just been a few weeks. And to have a director gone in such an abrupt way is very startling. So what I have seen from interim director McKenzie has been great work. Just 2 days after Mr. Scott's, or a few days after Mr. Scott's resignation, interim director McKenzie gave a presentation for Washoe County employees, and it was phenomenal. Did you know there's a bomb shelter over here? I have a couple of issues or questions. Who's going to be paying for the recruitment for the new library director? What budget is that coming out of? That's not going to be a cheap thing. And I think in this whole discussion, that should have been part of this conversation. I'm grateful that the open meeting law discussion came up. I think there's quite a few things in here that hopefully put people's misconceptions to bed about what is supposed to be occurring in these meetings. I'm also grateful that beginning last month and moving forward, that email addresses for public comment are now being redacted. Hopefully, this will keep individuals from emailing people and harassing them, as is against Code of County Conduct. The expansion fund's going to run out. That's the honest truth. It's not getting refilled. It is going to empty out, and then we are going to be with nothing in that fund. And I hope moving forward that the board understands that a lot of us out here are also intelligent individuals and have an understanding of things. and will treat us with respect and will speak to us with respect, and also be respectful to the librarians in this community. I know that many people on the board don't feel like those individuals are as important as the overall library, but they are the heart of this library. Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to make public comment at this time, or anyone on Zoom?
Didn't have one on Zoom.
Okay.
Okay, Nevada Patriot, can you hear us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank this library board for what they've had to go through for the last few months. While it may be that the library director provided some financials, it wasn't until January of this year that the trustees finally started seeing detailed breakdown of the finances for the library. Prior to that, all you would get was little cursory things, and it was, well, trust me, these are the figures. That's not how you do finances, not for the people that are your bosses. Additionally, I would like to thank this library board for not naming Stacy McKenzie as the library director. It is my estimation that would be a huge, huge mistake, as she aided and abetted the previous library director in pushing his agenda for our library system, contrary to the wishes of the constituency of Washoe County. I would also like to say that, Madam Chair, you do not have to allow people to make personal attacks during public comment on members of the Board of Trustees. I would hope that you would curb that activity in the future. But then again, when it comes to spewing the discontent, the divisiveness, and the hatred, that all seems to be coming from one side of the aisle. Frankly, I really get tired of it. There is no effort to sit down and have reasonable, articulate conversation with people that only operate on emotion and not facts and truth. Once again, Madam Chair, I would like to express my extreme thanks and admiration for this board and what they're doing in light of all the obstacles that have been placed in front of them. They are still, and you, Madam Chair, are still trying to do what is right for the Washoe County Library System and the citizens of Washoe County. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Yeah, I've got some more on Zoom.
Okay. Two more public comment.
Bree, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Hi, Bree Schmidt for the record, BRISCHMIDT. And first off, I'm sure people are probably feeling a lot of feelings, so I'm just going to take a big, deep breath before I get started with my public comments. Okay. I would also just like to note that toward the board, a reminder that public comments need to be directed to the board. And if public comments are not directed to the board, then that is a thing that has been corrected in the past. So a reminder about consistency with that. When I think about the Washoe County library systems and I think about what they look like 5, 10, 30 years from now, I would like to picture a library system that is active and thriving and valued by the community. And it's not just about the next 6 months, the next 1 year, the next however long. It is really about building a legacy of literacy, of freedom of information, of freedom of speech. These are the things that the Washoe County Library stands for. Libraries are First Amendment, 10th Amendment, and 14th Amendment institutions. And I would encourage the trustees to move forward in these discussions and in the work that needs to be done, considering not just the immediate short term, but also the long-term consequences of any decisions that are made, to think about what kind of library system they would like to see and what kind of legacy they would like to leave. We might not get to reap the benefits of what we sow, but it is our duty to sow the seeds nonetheless. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there another Zoom commenter?
Next one's Valerie Piniaco, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I would like to say ditto to Mr. Bruce Parks's comments and not repeat them. I would be redundant. I do thank you all for your service. It's been outstanding, actually. Very patient. I also would like to dispel some of the myth that's been spoken tonight, and that is that the 4.5 million will go, well, first of all, I'd like to dispel the myth that the voters didn't know what they voted for, because I'm one of those voters that did know what I was voting for. And everybody in my circle knew exactly what they were voting for. They voted for this library board of trustees to go back and do their diligent work and looking at the library and seeing if every penny's been spent the right way. That's a pause. That doesn't mean, this is another myth, that you're not going to be funded fully. That doesn't mean that the county commission, after the library board of trustees has looked at the budget and said, yes, we think every penny is justified, will not give you that 4.5 million. They may well indeed give you that money. That does not mean they won't give it to you. It may mean they pay political consequences because the voters said they didn't want that to happen. But I think most voters that I know, that I've talked to, want the libraries fully funded. They just want to make sure it's being spent the right way, and they didn't have confidence that it was. They didn't have faith in the last library director, nor do they have faith in Miss Stacy. So going forward, I have all the faith that you will do the right things, that you're going to rebuild that confidence. I've seen a lot less dissension in this meeting, and I'm really grateful for that. And I'm hoping that it continues along that vein. And thank you for the work you're doing. I appreciate it. And I assume that you're going to do good work from here on forward. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe there's another Zoom comment.
Username Arano, did I say that right? Can you, was it? Yeah. Orano, can you hear us? Orano, can you hear us? Might need to unmute yourself. I think we got all the Zooms. Not sure if you want to wait for the person maybe to re-log in.
Is there a name that's identified?
They wandered off.
Is there another comment? Okay. Hearing no further public comment. And I do appreciate public comment. It is valuable and appreciated for its candor and its sincerity. I will ask that we adjourn the meeting.